Directly after World War II, the Khmer Rouge was formed of mostly Vietnamese people. Then, after a long series of events involving world court cases, most Vietnamese left the group, leaving for a high number of Cambodians to join. Then, after the carpet bombing raids of Cambodia by the USA, called Operation Breakfast, the Khmer Rouge gained massive recruitment numbers. Although it did help by merely delaying the takeover of Phnom Penh in 1973, the Khmer Rouge still gained massive power in 1975, having complete control over the country, even renaming it to the Democratic Kampuchea. They closed the gates to the people, slaughtering anyone who remained inside. The leader of this organization was a man named Pol Pot.
From the concentration camps to crime-infested cradles, been through hell and lived to tell us all fact, not fable, able to dwell in harsh surroundings, living proof of the truth. We survived the genocide, only to jeopardize our youth. This a cruel world, filled with hunger and hatred, living life just to die on earth, nothing is sacred. We make it even worse whenever the guns burst. Homicide rates increase, more deceased in the hearse. The thirst for money, leading to bloody confrontation. Not able to eat, turn to the street for occupation, facing elimination if you're not Caucasian. Either become a doctor or turn into a patient. There's no replacement for these faces, victims in murder cases. Most of the time, it's crime against the same races, contagiously spreading throughout the blocks. As long as Glocks they cock, this massacre will never stop. So better drop your weapon and step in a different direction. Grab the mic and ignite rhymes without even flexing and start representing. Some we all forgetting, like that time our kind went through the Armageddon. The setting was war torn, bullets scorn, families mourn the death of their loved ones who died in this war. That's the first yeah. How can us Asians overcome this situation in this nation of complication filled with discrimination? If our next generation is steady wasting their time, too obsessed with their image and caring less about their minds, need to take time and look at life from different perspective. Know that we living wrong and we need to correct it. Always protect the ethnic backgrounds, never neglected. We are who we is, we don't get to select it. The genocide was unexpected, millions of lives affected, fleeing the torture scene to avoid being beheaded. Instead, we fled to this land, controlled by the man with evil plans to diminish us if we don't make a stand. But how will we keep from getting deleted and erased if on the street gun barrels aimed at the same face? So many cases of urban genocide of the same race, making it seem like the same place. We try to escape, but the only thing different is concrete and the date. We pray to Buddha to guide us through these dark years. It hurts me deep to see my mom shedding tears. For years we struggle, hoping to bubble out the block, away from these hot spots where gunshots pop. These thoughts are from the mind, expressed through rap lines designed to open the eyes of the blind, hoping to find truth for the ghetto youth before it's time.
The main figurehead or leader of the Khmer Rouge was Pol Pot, a revolutionary who gained ideas from similar time leader Mao Zedong in China. He was referred to sometimes as Brother Number One or sometimes as General Secretary. He was a radical who aimed to change everything with his social engineering ideas, which ended up killing about 21% of his population. He organized people into the sort of Old West United States cattle fields mixed with Joseph Stalin's style of ruling, called collective farms. It was pretty much just a socialist version of slavery. He was eventually driven out of power in 1979 when the Vietnamese invaded Cambodia to liberate from Pol Pot, so he fled. Then, after he ordered the killing of a bunch of his family, he was placed under house arrest, where he eventually died. His cause of death was claimed to be heart failure, although his body was never examined, so some believe it was suicide or poisoning.
A basic overview of their beliefs was summarized in their motto: to keep you is no benefit, to destroy you is no loss. This group was a communist party bent on increasing their gains by any means necessary. The best example of this was the idea of the killing fields. These were mass graves where people were sent based on pure ethnicity or religion. The people were chosen for being Vietnamese, Thai, Chinese, or not part of the Khmer Rouge, Muslims, Christians, and Buddhists. These people were sent in, then forced to dig a mass grave, then were massacred while inside the grave. To save ammunition, which was thought to be too precious for these people's lives, they would use other methods such as shovels, poisons, or bamboo sticks turned on the sharp side, which would saw at the victim's neck. Age also didn't matter, nor did gender. Everyone was killed in the fields, and the justice for the children slaughtered, so they wouldn't rise up to avenge their parents. The tactics used on the people of Cambodia in the forms of torture was cruel. Since the ammo was hardly ever wasted on them, the deaths were often drawn out or very painful. Those persecuted were those of ethnic Vietnamese, ethnic Chinese, ethnic Thai, and other minorities in Eastern Highlands, Cambodian Christians, most of whom were Catholic and Catholic Church in general, Muslims, and the Buddhist monks. Also people in education, anyone with a connection to the outside government, and people who didn't know how to farm. The death toll is somewhere between 1.4 million and 2.2 million, with half those being deaths due to executions and the rest being from starvation and disease. The common ways for torture were people being sent to the killing fields, people being sent to the jails, which you will see more on momentarily, people being experimented on, whether it be by the stretcher, or dunking upside down, or even just surgeries. Also, people of the Muslim religion were forced to eat pork, which is in a direct violation of their religion. Also, any money that they might have accumulated over the years was now invalid.
The photographs of the victims from the Cambodian genocide are what really haunt you. Like the Nazis, Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge seem to be obsessed with documenting their atrocities. Now a museum, Tuol Sleng in Phnom Penh was a high school turned prison in one of the Khmer Rouge's main torture centers. Prisoners were detained in these cells. Murals at the museum depict some methods of torture that were used. When the Vietnamese finally liberated the city, they took these photographs of hastily butchered victims. Just outside of Phnom Penh, the killing fields are one of the starkest testaments to the crimes of the Khmer Rouge. Thousands of corpses were found in these mass graves. Hundreds of skulls are arranged by sex and age in the memorial stupa. That these atrocities happened in the late 1970s makes them all the more sickening. It makes me think that we'll never learn from crimes of the past, but instead use them as blueprints for the future.